Now welcome to the absolutely beautiful Alders Farm Fishery. Tackle shop's right behind me. I haven't been in there yet. We're going to head in there, but this is just an absolutely amazing place. It's one of those, it was like the original bagging water way back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. This place was doing £300 and £400 bags of fish long before all that was cool. It was just like an incredible place. And there's 3 lakes here. Well, there's a few like little dotty lakes as well, but there's 3 main lakes. And we're going to see what this place has to offer. It's going to be a bit of a video of a difference. This, loads of you asked after the last mixing bowl episode to do like a feeding masterclass. So we're going to look, like really go into fine detail about feeding. We're going to keep things simple on the tactics front and really sort of drill down onto that feeding. And hopefully it's going to be really good. But let's get in the tackle shop. We're going to need some fishery pellets. We're going to get in there now and see what this nice little tackle shop's got to offer, because I'm sure with Trevor Price running it, it's going to be a beauty. So let's get down these steps and get in there. Right, this is the Alders Farm tackle shop, and there's all the major brands in here, and it's just a cracking like pit stop for you to get going. If you need your bait, you need any extra tackle before you go fishing, or if you just need to use it as a local tackle shop, then this is ideal. One thing I want to just bring to your attention is the Alders Open Day, and look, Nufish, we're going to be there. So this is going to be a great day on the 31st of May at the weekend. Get yourselves down here. There's going to be loads of brands. I mean, look at them: Guru, Mainline, Garbolino, Daiwa, Fuka, Map, Nufish, Nitro, more. Everyone you want to see. We're going to be here. The whole Nufish team's going to be here, so it's going to be a really good day, that is. So I'm really excited about that. But don't need to worry about that. Let's get in the tackle shop and let's get some pellets. Look at this, look. New nets, look. Gliders. Deadpans. Tip and butts, look. My favourite, detection. Great to see a good selection. How are you, Trev?
Mate, lovely to see you.
Right, I need some pellets.
And I've got the kettle on. Oh. The famous Alders cup of tea.
Tell me about the open day, Trev, because we're going to obviously tell these lovely viewers about it. So what's the crack with it?
The idea of the open day was twofold, really. One, for us as a tackle shop to give back to the trade.
Yep.
Everybody needs every bit of help they can get.
Yep.
So lots of people don't get to see our side of fishing, which is match brand pleasure type fishing.
Yeah. Platch fishing, as Mick calls it.
Was it?
Platch fishing.
Platch fishing, yes.
Pleasure fishing in a match style.
And so I just come up with the idea, and Adam Rooney, as ever, and Darren Cox, as ever, straight on it to help us. The first year, I was talking with Tommy Pickering, and he said he expected 300 people. We had 1,800.
Wow.
The second year, we had 2,200.
Amazing.
So this year, we've got to broaden our horizons and go for 25.
Yeah. And people can come and try fishing, and
they'll be coming to meet people like yourself, Mick Miles, Adam Rooney, Darren Cox, Tommy Pickering. The list is endless, and we'll have about 20 angling stations, and it's all free.
Totally free.
Totally free.
Brilliant.
Free parking. We also will have on the day a junior match with the Canal and River Trust. That's sold out.
Yeah.
But that's to bring the juniors in as well.
Oh, fantastic.
We donate the whole lake. We donate the whole thing. We even, for you exhibitors, give you your breakfast and your afternoon tea.
Sounds good.
So,
so it's going to be a cracking day. So it's just one day, 31st of May.
Perfect.
Get yourselves down to Alders Farm. Totally free. It's going to be a great day. I always remember when I was talking about the big weight days of this fishery. It's not like that now. There's still loads of fish in here, but nothing like it used to be. There used to be £400 weights back in the day. I always remember seeing this lake in the magazines, and that like pump house over there. I just think it looks great. It's like such a unique place. Almost like estate lakey sort of place, but commercial fishing standards. It's a cool place. Okay, so I've actually starting to get settled now. And like I say, we're going to do the feeding masterclass, so we're going to keep things really simple. And there's just fish everywhere. I can't believe it. I've not been out so much the last few weeks for various reasons. So I'm a bit behind on like where we're at in terms of like the fish feeding and stuff. But it's a beautiful day today. It's going to get close to 20, they reckon. And this swim apparently is really shallow. I think it's peg 30 on Ash Lake. And behind me in this bay is just a ludicrous amount of carp. So I think we're gonna have an amazing day, to be fair. If these feed, we're gonna have just like an amazing day. So I'm really excited. I've never actually fished this lake, so. And this is the one, like I say, I remember from all the magazines, so I can't wait to get going. This is the truth. Well, I couldn't resist having a quick go before we started. And like I said, this video is going to all be about feeding. And it's really interesting here because we're faced with really shallow water. So I'm just going to plop him in the net. Now, it's a really interesting scenario we've got here at Alders because it's literally 20 inches deep, but it's open water. We're not fishing up against islands or anything like that. So we've got a really interesting scenario where you could potentially miss a lot of bites, foul hook a lot of fish. So getting our feeding right is going to be absolutely crucial if we want to be successful here today. So, like I said, I couldn't help myself have a go. So let's have a closer look at what we're up to. It's really simple in terms of bait and rigs and everything. So it's all about the feeding today, and that is what I'm hoping you guys will enjoy about this video. Right, so we're going to take a closer look at feeding today and like all the different things. And literally all I've got on my side tray is some 6mm feed pellets, just fishery pellets. That's all I've got bait wise. I've got a catapult because that might be important at some point. But whenever I'm kicking a session off, I like to keep things nice and tidy to start with. So I'm going to put everything in via a little pole pot. Now, I've spoke quite a few times on my videos. I think with hard pellets, you can be really frugal. And I mean, literally feeding 2 or 3 pellets at a time. And I think where some anglers cause themselves issues is they put too many hard pellets in. And you get lots of liners, foul hook fish and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you how you can catch to start with by being super frugal and patient. And I'm literally just going to put in 3 pellets just to start with, up against this bank, and show you how easy it is to get like a clean bite as opposed to missing loads of bites. Because as soon as you pick this up, you'll get loads more fish in your peg, you'll get loads more indications, but sometimes you can foul up a few, lose a few, miss loads of bites, and you feel like you're busy all the time because you feed in and you're getting loads of indications, but actually just being really patient and a little bit boring, to be honest, and just sitting over a tiny little pile of 6mm like that, that's just 3 pellets I've put in there, can be the winning in, like, it's like the hare and the tortoise thing, like you just plod along and get to a good weight at the end of a match. So it's, like I say, it's ever so shallow, but one of the key things to do when you're fishing with hard pellets with a pot is to actually wet them. So what I like to do is just dunk my pot under the water, and that just means that because I'm feeding so few amount of pellets, they go exactly where I want them to go. If you don't wet them, sometimes they get hung up in the surface tension and all of a sudden you're only fed 1 pellet, the other 2 have drifted off. So it's just something to bear in mind. Now, what you can do with hard pellets is make a lot of impact with hardly any bait. I'm talking, you can create quite a lot of noise. So because I'm just at the start of the session, I want to make some noise and draw a few fish in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop them 3 pellets in from probably 2 foot above the water, and then I'm just going to accurately put that rig right on top. Okay, there's a fish on that straight away. There's obviously loads of fish here today. Oh, that didn't take long. So we've got a bite straight away by feeding just 3 pellets, which is just the power of them. Look at that, it's trying to get in there. I'm glad I've got that pink elastic on. We're in so shallow, them fish are just absolute animals. Come out of there, you. But hopefully I'll show you like 3 or 4 fish we'll hopefully catch by just feeding 3 pellets. We're not going to up it, we're not going to feed any bait like when we hook one or anything. We're literally setting a little pile of bait to catch a fish. And it is, I mean, how simple can fishing get? At this time of year, when they're not necessarily going mad, I mean, obviously I caught that one really quick, but they're not necessarily going mental yet. Feeding like this, and even in the summer, I've had loads of success being like this. As a northerner, feeding half a pint of pellets in a day is very pleasing. Come on, that's a nice fish. Great one to start this little feeding session off. And I'm going to show you how we can like develop, because sometimes, you know, you have to up the ante. It's all right plodding along, but sometimes, you know, when you're in a match and other people are bagging up, you do have to get a bit more aggressive and a bit more adventurous. I mean, that's a lovely fish. The water's really clear here, and they've got a lovely like golden sheen to them. Look at that, beautiful. Plop them in. Didn't really get to show you the actual how you can be so patient because we got a bite straight away, but that just shows you how attractive the fish are so tuned into the noise of pellets going in that you get a lot of bang for your buck. You know, you're getting a lot of impact from hardly any bait, and I think that's so important to say. And my float's just moved, so I'm just gonna put that back down. Yeah, you get a lot of impact. Like if you put micros in, you're not really getting the noise factor, and then you just drive them mad and miss the bites. Like if you put micros in here, I think you have a hard time catching them, to be honest. You get loads of fish in your peg, no doubt, but with this you get that noise factor, and then because there's hardly any bait on the bottom, just 3 pellets, you can actually still catch them. It's important to be accurate, so let's just tap them pellets in. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. Because the water's got a good clarity to it, I think these fish are feeding quite visually. Don't get me wrong, they'll be rooting round, but the water's so shallow and clear, it's got a real good clarity to it. I feel like lifting and dropping and laying my rig through will be really important here. Oh. That's the bite then. There we go. See that? That's the fish. I took that as it, that I can imagine the hook bait just got down to the bottom. God, these are fish alive at that point. Bit of a tug of war when you first hook them. I'm glad I've got the old 18 plus in. Trevor did say when we were in the tackle shop, he says if you go in peg 30, he'll give your new line a good testing. And then you get into here and they're it's so, honestly, it's so clear. Hopefully we can get the GoPro in a bit and nice fish. So it just shows, look, we're catching a fish every chuck in, and we've fed like 9 pellets so far. Cracker. You know, and you see it all the time when you go on matches, and anglers will start the match off with a great big pot because they think I'm fishing for £100 or £80 or, you know, a good weight of fish, and they think that they've got to pile the bait in, but especially with hard pellets, you just don't. So 1, 2, 3. Less is often more with this. And I know that I could just keep repeating this and just catch a fish pretty much every go in. Might lose an odd one because of that bank being so naughty, but literally, there's no reason to change because I'm just going to keep catching fish. I know I am. But I'm going to change it in a little bit just to show you the difference that tweaking it can make. Because it'd be so tempting now to just keep catapulting pellets in, and I'm sure there's a day when that'll work, but it might not be today. Gollies. I think the visual side of things is massive today, looking at this. If it was more coloured, I'd be tempted to maybe change it and fish in a slightly different way. Ooh. Funny, isn't it, how when you're fishing up against a bit of a snag, you get a bit more adventurous with the strike because you're anticipating a bit of a tug of war. A bit of a line, there's definitely one there. What always amazes me is when you only feed 3 pellets, you just assume that they'll be gone in seconds, but yet, like I'm a minute or so after I've fed and I've caught that one, 2 minutes maybe. So there's still bait on the bottom, or they know that the bait's been in there. Oh my God. They know the bait's gone in. And they're so tuned into the noise, they just know that something's in the area, even though it's, I mean, it could just be your hook bait that's left. God, Jesus. This one's not happy. Yeah, we're winning now. Great fishing though, here at Alders. You have to excuse the chainsaw, they're doing a bit of work. But great fishing. Ooh. They're not even massive fish, but they don't have pull. Wait. Yeah, they're not massive fish, but they don't have pull. Now, one of the details that you might notice, you might not have, is I just like strung my shots out. I was fishing with a little bolt to start with, and again I've now strung them out a bit more because I feel like, as I keep mentioning, these fish are almost visual feeding. Okay, so we're going to take a little break from the fishing and just show you the rig. Now, we've got to a great start, potting the pellets in. I'd be well happy just pottering away, potting them pellets in, them 3 pellets, and waiting for my bites. However, the way they're reacting, and they're sort of definitely responsive to noise, it's clear, it's shallow, they seem to be swimming around in big groups. I reckon I can catch even more by changing my feeding. So I'll show you more of that in a minute, how I'm going to do that. But I'm going to quickly show you the rig. Now, I'm so glad I've got this on today. 18 plus power margin zip. It's a real nasty sort of bank, this, and they're trying to get under it. Need every bit of that. I've got 018 one main line. I've got 3 number 8 stots there as a back, like a back shot, just bolt together. And then it's just over 18 inches deep, and I've got a 0.3 Diablo. Now, interestingly, with the shots, I've got 3 of them right underneath my float, and then I've just got 2 down the line. I keep mentioning about this visual thing. I feel like they're feeding quite visually today, and I need to slow the fall of my hook bait. So I've just got 2 shot down the line there. And then I've got an 0.16.5 hook length, a size 16 B911 extra strong, and then a little band. So simple stuff. So without further ado, let's get round, show you how we're going to tweak it in terms of feeding to hopefully improve our catch rate even more than what we've had on this great start to the session. Okay, so we got off to a great start with the kinder pot, just putting those 3 pellets in, and now it's time to up the ante. And I'm just going to show you the difference, how we're going to probably keep the amount of pellets the same, but like feeding them in a different way is going to bring a totally different response, and we're going to be much more aggressive with like the amount to bait. Now, it's a double-edged sword, this, because sometimes you can get into a lovely routine, feeding with a catapult, get the fish going, and you can catch really nicely, but sometimes it can all get a bit chaotic, and actually you end up missing bites, foul-looking fish, losing fish, and you think you're dead busy, but actually, I've mentioned the hare and the tortoise earlier, actually sometimes just sticking with the pot is better. So it's really important to not lose sight of how many fish you end up catching, because hopefully we'll be able to catch loads doing this, but some days you miss loads of bites and stuff. So it's important to actually keep an eye on how many fish you're actually putting in the net, because ultimately that's the most important thing. But now we're going to fish much more different. We're going to be much more aggressive with the amounts of, not necessarily the amounts, but how often we're feeding. So I'm going to flick the rig out, taking the pot off, and then I'm just going to trick, oh, look at that. And it might be that we absolutely just empty it now, because we're going to end up ringing that dinner bell so much more often. And I kept mentioning how I felt like the fish were like swimming around in packs and needing something to like draw them in, and I feel like that is why the catapult will be like king today. Is this a mirror? It's a mirror, it's a mirror. There aren't many of these in here. And they're all like wild looking commons. See that pink elastic? You'd think, oh, it's too strong really for what you're doing, but it's not, because it's just controlling the fish lovely. Don't really have to touch the puller. It's ideal. Yeah, we've got balanced tackle on. We've got a 16 hook on, but it's like a thick wired 16, a B911 extra strong. Look at that mirror, Alders Farm mirror. Cracking. It was a bit quick, that one, really, to show you what we're actually trying to achieve. It's a nice fish, that one. Cracking. Can't believe how good the fishing is, if I'm being totally honest. And obviously, with it being clear, you can see every time you feed, you can see a response. So let's try and show you that without catching one in 2 seconds. Again, just sticking with the 6mm in the hook, in the band, nice and simple. I'm just going to flick this out past. Hey up, everyone's trying to come in, and then we just get on with our feeding. So 3 pellets, and then what I'm doing, I'm kind of like almost fishing shallow, but because it is so shallow, you can't really. But I'm just flicking my rig in and just letting it come in, give it a few seconds on the bottom, and then pick it up and flick it in again. But already I'm feeding again. Look, I've got the catapult in my hand, because I'm trying to create a different situation here. I'm trying to get the fish revved up a bit, get them excited for the pellets going in, and we'll try and fine tune it to where we're just catching all the time. And some days just plodding on with the pot is much better. But other days when fishing's a bit better and the fish are a bit more up for it, getting this beauty out can really change your fortunes and up everything. The fish are there. So this has been much more like it. That one we just caught then that was instant. Most of the time it takes a little while, just a few feeds, just to get the confidence up. And this is what, when with the pot, at the tail end of that little potting in session, I felt like I wasn't, it'd get to a point 2 minutes into the ship out and you'd be like, I could do with feeding again now. And that's obviously where the catapult comes in, because you can just keep trickling those pellets in. Try and obviously get them as accurate. Not easy, because these pellets are all different shapes and sizes. That's a good feed. If you do feed them and they go past or short or left or right, just put a few more in. Doesn't hurt. But just keep the amount small, 2 or 3. I'm just going to stop feeding now for a few minutes. I'm just going to swing my rig about a little bit. I feel like there's enough bait there now. And I've got to just catch one, because otherwise you end up just feeding and feeding and feeding without actually catching one. I feel like I should be getting a bite at the moment. Oh. Obviously, like amounts and when to feed them. So I hate the words like it just feels right, but you kind of do get a feeling for it. When you start catching fish, you can experiment and work at it. Nice fish. Terrible netting. Awful netting. Version 2. Like peas in a pod there. Nice fish though. But you see what we did there, we were getting them revved up by feeding regular, but actually I wasn't catching them, so I just stopped and then we caught one. Just stop feeding so often. And that is the one good thing about the cat. You can really mix it up a lot more than you can with a pot. The only thing is it can be easy to get carried away and just keep firing pellets in. I'm a nightmare for that. Sometimes you've got to slow it down though and actually catch the fish. They're so receptive to noise today though. That's one thing that is evident. Just plopping the rig in has been really effective. That's obviously the beauty of the 6mm. They make a lovely little rattle on the surface. And the fish are so tuned into them. So much so that they're actually eating them in my keep net. Amazingly. 'Cause, 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 ' one this side of my pole. It's like tailing up this there. Wait. Oh, like textbook that was. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to mix it up again, and I'm going to combine the two, because just because you've got a pot on doesn't mean you can't catapult, and just because, and vice versa. So I'm going to combine the two, just because I was happy with how I was catching with the pot, but I feel like the catapult is useful, but I have fouled a couple since I've started using the catapult, which obviously isn't what we want. So I'm going to combine the two. So I'm just going to put in a little pile. I'm actually going to put, 3. Give it a few minutes, well, not a few minutes, but 30 seconds off this. And if we don't get anything, then I can start ringing the bell and combining the two. Top them in from a bit of a height and then flick it in. And let's just see what happens. It's really hot now, actually. I'm gonna have to. It's must be getting closer to. Oh, look at that! Look. Isn't that amazing? There's a little bit of a scamp, that one. That's a good point. Just mixing the feeding up can be really important. And this is why, you bring your pots and your catapult and you can mix them up. It might be that we need the catapult to like gather a few fish, then cut it out, start feeding with a pot and tying it all up. There you go, nice little mirror. Another one of Alders mirrors. Look at that little beauty, let me show you it. It's a little wiry little thing. So let's get back on that pot. That worked, didn't it? Straight away. Come on. Okay, so we talked about the feeding and how we're doing it. We mentioned the catapult and the pot, and I thought it'd be just useful just to show you the actual catapults and pots that we're using, because I carry quite a few different strengths, which sounds obvious, but it's not always, because you go in the shop and they all look quite similar, but you've got to match the catapult to the distance and the bait that you're feeding. Like that's like a heavy duty one you'd probably use for fishing with a bomb and pellet or pellet waggler, maybe even firing maggots across the river. It's a strong catty, but that'd be no good at all here. My 6mm pellets would be going way past my pole tip, no good at all. So catties like that, not really balanced to what we're trying to do. However, in the tackle shop, you'll see little delicate ones like this. Nice thin catapult, nice thin elastic, lovely little pouch, and they're perfect if you just want to feed 2 or 3 6mm pellets like we're doing today, nice and accurately at 11 metres. That's like the perfect choice. So even though they're quite expensive, you do need them, and it is worth getting a couple of different ones. I've got 3 there. They're all for different purposes. Like I say, that one's for like dinking in little hard pellets. That one's for maybe loose feeding casters on a longer pole, 13 metres when I'm fishing shallow. And then that one's for my rod and line work. So I've got 3 different ones that do totally different jobs. And it's the same with the pots, really. There's loads of different pots on the market now. There's some great ones, Preston, Matrix, Guru, they all do them. And but the ones you want to look for are ones that have got like removable lids. So you've got, this is a Matrix model, and it's got a removable lid. Now, when you're shipping out hard pellets especially, if you were to do it with an open pot like that, it would just be a nightmare. You'd never get them out there. Even the smoothest pole shipper would never get it out there. The pellets would bounce out. But we've got these lovely little pots with the holes in. Clip them in, and your pellets will stay in there. Especially if you give them a dunk in the water before you ship out, and that'll help you no end when you're pole fishing. So that's how we're feeding it. You'll notice we've not used a big feeding pot, and I think that's really important. At this time of year, it's risky business. If you went and put a big pot full of 6mm pellets out there at the start of your session, you could ruin your day before you even start. So I prefer not to even set it up for this style of fishing, and I rely totally on the pot, on the little pot and the catapult, and mixing and matching the two has kept the bites coming all day long today. Keep that pellet going. I think importantly we haven't fed again. We've just fed them pellets that we caught, and then we caught that fish. We haven't catapulted any more in. So let's just see what happens here. This is the thing. I think for fishing videos, it's easy to gloss over the little things because you say, right, I'm fishing hard pellets today. This is how I feed it. Job done. But as we know, fishing, it changes throughout the day. And when I first switched to the catapult, the fish were getting really excited, and I actually caught quite a few. While I was just like messing around, and the cameraman was getting sorted. But then it definitely changed, and I was foul hooking an odd one. And that's really common, that is. We've gone back to the pot and caught straight away, so. Now the next thing that I'm going to try is more like the quiet approach. So we're not going to change how many pellets we feed or anything like that, but I'm just going to do it in a different way. I'm going to put the pot close to the surface, sneak the pellets in, and make no noise at all, and just see if that's any better. So we've got the same bait, the same amount of bait, and we've fed it in 3 different ways. We've fed it, the pot from a height, making a rattle, which we felt was quite good. But we, foul hooked an odd one. Same with the catapult, that was good initially, but then it got in a bit of a mess with the catapult. So now we're trying to mix the two. Whenever the swim goes quiet, we're using the catapult to sort of pull them back, but we're using the pot to catch them. And actually sneaking the pellets in might be the most efficient way to catch them. Nice comment. Fishing's so good. I haven't done much of this sort of fishing for a while, and it's nice to get back at it. So, like I say, this time we're going to do something totally different and sneak the bait in this time. So we're going to make no noise at all. If we keep pellets in the pot, that is. Yeah, we're going to make no noise at all this time. We're just going to put the pot right on the water and pop them in. Really quiet. And I'm going to be a bit more accurate. And let's see if that actually does anything. We might need to then loose feed over the top as well. But we'll see. Funny because it's different straight away. Before, when we were feeding with a catty or dropping the pellets in from a height, you could see the fish visually, they're mooching around, but there's none of that since I've done that straight away. Amazing how different. And you could be catching loads of fish and matey next door might not be catching any, and you both got the same bait, appear to be feeding it the same, but it could just be the difference between putting your pellets in quietly and noisily. That's how feeding is. Looks the same, but it's not. But doing it this way might mean that a fish comes in and we get a lovely clean bite in a minute. Right, let's get the catty out. Mix the two together. Fishing is so interesting, isn't it? Because they've done that, and that sneaking the pellets in has just had no pulling power whatsoever. No fish have really come in. And that is the little fine details of fishing, isn't it? The things that make the difference. Straight away, I've just picked the catapult up and I've started pinging an odd pellet, and there's already an odd carp. You can see them. Right, I just stopped. I used the pot obviously to put that little bit of bait in, and then I used the catapult then to, it sounds bizarre, but pull the fish in because they just weren't coming in. But eventually, just by trickling in 2 pellets regular, they've started to come back in. And these are the tricks, like in the middle of the match or your session when it's hard. If you can turn 2 or 3 fish into 6 or 7 or 8 fish, obviously you're going to have another £20 at the end of the day when the match ends. So using your tricks is so important. So it is all about working really hard at the minute, using the pot and the catapult to help us like catch the fish. So yeah, I'm going to crack on, and then hopefully the fish will probably turn on big time and we'll hopefully have a really good finish. But yeah, so it just shows you how, you know, we're working the swim with that simple bait and our different ways of feeding and catching loads of fish, to be fair. It's been amazing here at Alders Farm. I can't believe how good the fishing is. This one's giving me some grief. It might be a better fish. Interesting, we just had a bit of ripple come on. And they seem to be a bit more giving up themselves a bit easier now. Amazing how in this clear water, like things like the ripple can really bring them on the feed. It's now the sun's at its brightest, it's really evident how clear the water is. I mean, I'd love to get the underwater cameras in here today because it's gin clear in front of me. And it's just interesting, I was chatting to Trevor about the history of this fishery, because obviously I mentioned that I used to see it when in the magazines back in the day, and it was, like I said, it was the first real bagging water from what I can remember. There was Rolf's Lake as well, but here it like sprung up and just colossal weights at the time, £400. And interestingly, apparently when he first dug this lake, the original owner, he only put 6 carp in, 6 common carp, and they ended up breeding and breeding and breeding until there were thousands in here. And then it got 5 years ago or 6 years ago, they actually did some like restoration work, rebuilt the islands, drained it. This fish was even right at Merry Dance, and actually took quite a lot of the fish out because obviously the weights were getting silly, and it was just wasn't doing the fishery any favours. So they sort of moved a few fish on and readdressed the balance, and now they've just got this most amazing fishery. They catch big weights of skimmers here. They can still catch good weights of carp, don't get me wrong, as you can see today, but those huge weights, they're a thing of the past. The silly weights, if you want to call them silly weights, and it's just a beautiful fishery now, and there's loads of people here fishing today. Sun's out, every lake's full of anglers, it's great to see, and I reckon that open day at the end of May is going to be an absolute belting day out. That one really pulled back, didn't it? But yeah, that's just a little bit about Alders Farm. There's 3 main lakes here, and then there's loads of like little quirky little lakes with odd pegs on and different fishing, lots of silvers and stuff like that. So something for everyone here. There's a specimen lake with carp up to £40. There's just real mixture of stuff. So yeah, if you're looking for somewhere in the sort of Milton Keynes area, it's well worth checking out Alders Farm. And literally, there's families, there's all sorts of anglers here today. It's great to see, and I can't wait to get back. I'm really enjoying it. So we're really sort of in the deep into the session now, and it is actually one of them days where there's no set way of doing it, and I know that sounds like such a cop-out, but it is true. Like, I've had to keep just chopping and changing how I'm feeding it all day long just to keep the fish coming, and I can't help but, oh, terrible netting. I can't help but feel it's just the depth and the clarity and the time of year all combining, making it, it's not hard work because we're catching loads of fish, but I am having to work for every one. And I'll just get into a nice little routine of feeding, like say with a pot, and then all of a sudden the pot just doesn't have the pulling power, so I'm having to get the catty out and mixing the two up. And another thing what has actually been quite good is resting. So actually, like, not fishing for a few minutes, just feeding it a few times and then letting them build the confidence up, and then going out and you'll catch 2 or 3 fish quick, which is, I know it's not like the done thing when you're match fishing, you don't want to be out the water really, but I can imagine in a match if you did something else, maybe fish short or something like that, and then build your swim back up and then go out and catch 2 or 3 fish, little, like the basics like that. Sometimes resting swims is really important, and that goes for all styles of fishing. Just because we're catching a carp or chuck you know, it does sometimes, swimmers do need a rest and they're better for being rested, so just bear that in mind as well. But I think at the moment the best way is definitely to combine the two. And I'm just like feeding with the pot, and I'm giving it as long as I feel like I can before picking the catapult up, like there, because sometimes you get a quick one like that. Whereas other times I put my bait in with the pot, doesn't quite have the pulling power I need, and I'm having to get the catty up. But if I can get a quick bite on the pot, I do think it is better, more efficient. But that's why we've got the both options, because we can combine the two together. With a little Alders Farm carp. It's been brilliant fishing. So yeah, so like combining the two together has just been really important. Now, just a quick point. Obviously, we had the shot strung out earlier. I've kind of gone away with that. I've now got just a bulk now. I found it much better because there's less fish about visually now, and I'm definitely catching more fish just putting it on the bottom and waiting. So I've put the bulk on and it just seems to sit obviously a little bit more stable. So right, let's whiz out there and catch one more for this little bit. I mean, hopefully this information is useful. I know there's no definitive, like, sometimes I know a person on a video will be like, right, this is what you need to do, go and do that and catch loads of fish. This video is never going to be about that, and I'm hoping that we can do more of these where we're showing how things are fluid throughout the day. You know, fishing isn't set in stone, is it? And we've got to adapt to get the most from our session. But hopefully by just doing it with a simple bait like this and a simple tactic, it just shows you how we can just use our little ways to keep the fish coming. You'll see that I'll give it as long as I can with that little pot of pellets. Give it a few seconds. There's a fish come in. And then we'll get the catty out in a moment. And no need. The pot was good enough on that occasion. Come out. I love this elastic, so good. After a long winter, to finally be on the fattest elastic that we do, catching carp like this, it's so good. And people might be thinking, why are you using like an 18 plus with such, you know, like a size 16 up? But it's like I said earlier, it's a strong 16, and I do need that pulling power to get them away from this bank. And I barely lost any fish today, so it's not overpowering them or anything. I'd say it was bang on, to be honest with you. Oh, lovely. Cracking. Another fish. And this amazing session. So there we go, one last fish. Hopefully those little feeding tips will help you catch plenty more carp this spring and summer. But yeah, it's not complicated, it's just thinking about what you're trying to do. Using your pot, using your catapult, combining the two if you have to, but yeah, just little feeding tricks. But little feeding tricks can make all the difference with your fishing. In fact, it's everything, it's the most important thing. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next video.